Welcome to the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Real inspiration for real innovators. If you're looking for innovation and leadership transformation, your journey starts now.
Welcome to the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Born. If you're enjoying these innovation insights, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a future episode. By following the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast, you'll stay at the forefront of trends, strategies, and real-world examples that guide today's innovators. And very excited for you today to meet Nick Jain. He is the founder of Content Hurricane. This is an AI-powered platform that's transforming how businesses generate expert-level blog content at scale. And he is a seasoned executive with a proven track record of leading and scaling companies to over 100 million in revenue across many diverse sectors that include software, e-com, and then also logistics. Welcome to the podcast, Nick.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Natalie. Really excited to be here today.
So, I want to start with a little bit of your background. You've helped companies scale to 100 million in revenue. I'd love to know, as you start this brand new venture, Content Hurricane, how your past experience has really led into what you're doing now and it prepared you for Content Hurricane.
Sure. So, in transparency, this is my first time trying to start something new. In all prior roles, I've been at established organizations, helping them go from, good to great, right? Things that were already established and helping them become even better. So, this is a new venture for me, both personally and professionally. So, I want to, tread lightly. I think the things that will carry over and help are number one, an appreciation of the problems that a lot of people go through when they're running or scaling businesses, one of which is complexity. There's so many tools out there to use, and it's really difficult managing people, right? If you are an executive or a leader having a team of 10 people directly to you and they may have 20 people below them, you all of a sudden are responsible for 100 people. And that's a lot for any one person to manage. So it's important to have tools that are self-serve at any level where an executive can pick up a tool and learn it quickly and use it quickly. And that's one of the principles that I'm trying to apply here at Content Hurricane, creating tools that anyone, no matter how senior, no matter how technologically good or bad, can use effectively and not need to build organizations of 100 people, which are become complex to manage.
Yeah, it's really interesting hearing you talk about this because across the entrepreneur journey, there are so many different tools that entrepreneurs have to use just to make their business go. And I think you're right. Like there is this layer of complexity that just gets added on things that makes it really sometimes frustrating. And then when I think a little bit about, what you're doing, we know this is true, right? AI is transforming many, many marketing roles. I would love, as you're thinking about the venture that you've started, how should marketing teams be thinking about structuring, hiring, skill development? I mean, a lot of these pieces are being picked up and led by AI now, which is really creating kind of we should be thinking differently about how we staff and hire.
Yeah. So I think what AI has really done, at least my perspective, is historically a lot of software tools, whether it be software tools or hammers or things, they were always intended for people to use and they would make people better. All of a sudden with AI, and this is kind of a philosophical shift that we're going through, is now AI can often create better quality work than most human beings can. And that's a philosophical shift where instead of using a tool to help you be better, the tool can actually outperform you. It can outperform me. It does better. I have a theoretical degree in math, and these things can do better math than I can. So what that means in my perspective for marketing teams is that we shift away from thinking of AI as a tool, but rather AI as something that does all the production work for you, and that human effort and skills should be much more geared in future workforces towards orchestrating or guiding these AI tools to do real work without actually doing real work yourself.
Yeah. This is a very powerful shift. And I kind of equated the best thing that I can think of in my career, which was when I did outsourcing, right? So one of the places I did outsourcing was in Nevis in the West Indies. And it was fascinating because our teams here in the US were tired of this monotonous work. But when we shifted it to a different team in a different country, they were excited for the work. And then what did we do with the team back home? We forced them to kind of start solving higher level problems. So it's almost like this idea that the AI will knock out the work of the work, if you will, but then the people managing the AI need to think about how to deploy that work in a way that's most valuable, how to build relationships in a way that's most valuable. It's almost like a kind of creating a little bit of a different perspective on the work that we do today.
I agree with everything you said, and I would add one more thing that it is much more imperative that human beings give the AIs purpose, right? Like ChatGPT or Gemini or all these AI tools, they're wonderful. They know everything that has ever been written in, all of human history, or at least on the internet. But they don't that's a lot of knowledge. They don't have purpose behind that knowledge. ChatGPT, you have not told it, "Hey, create a great marketing campaign or go help save lives or go help the environment or, run for office." These tools still need to be guided with purpose, and at least right now, human beings, when being thoughtful about it, much better than AI tools at giving the AI tools purpose.
That's a powerful thought, and I've actually never heard anyone describe it that way. And I think that, we often hear that AI is going to kill creativity, but I think you've probably seen the opposite, that it's really unlocking creativity and kind of strategic potential, but it's doing it through a different lens. And so as AI begins to do some of our tasks better, I think it forces us to ask, what should the workforce be doing better that only we can do? And I think giving AI a purpose is one of those. And I'm sure there are others that fall into that wheelhouse to say, man, we should be thinking differently, being more strategic, driving change in different ways because, the work of the work, if you will, is getting done underneath by AI.
I'll add one more thing specifically to creativity, which is look, AI is going to kill creativity in a certain portion of the population. There's a lot of, unfortunately, illustrators, artists, musicians that are going to be affected by AI. But then conversely, there's a whole portion of the population that is going to be enabled by these AI tools. And I'll give an example of myself, right? I cannot draw, I cannot paint, or anything artistic things. I failed third grade art, like, or whatever the third grade equivalent of a fail was. For someone like me who doesn't have like I can see things in my mind, but my hands don't have the talent and I don't have the training to draw or paint things well, AI all of a sudden unlocks the creativity of folks like me because I can see it in my mind and I can tell AI how to draw it without necessarily knowing what the difference between a pastel is or a crayon is, which normally would have taken 20 years for someone to train. So yes, it negatively impacts folks who've undergone that training, but then for large portions of the population in art as well as elsewhere, they can now do things that was impossible to do for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating to me. I think this is going to be one of those conversations that we long argue about with the creativity piece, which is what makes sense, what's the right thing for us to deploy AI to. When you think about a lot of business leaders, I feel like, sometimes when I talk to business leaders, they don't know where to start with AI. They know that, they may not have a technical background. They know that it's a hot button topic right now, but they don't always know how or what to deploy AI against. And so, what would your advice be for thinking about how to deploy AI in a business, especially when you don't have a technical background?
So I'll give two answers, and they're both serious answers. The first is go ask AI where you should deploy it. ChatGPT is pretty smart. Go ask ChatGPT where should I deploy AI in my business. Actually, for Content Hurricane, when I was launching it, I asked it, "Hey, how should I do this? It's my first time starting a business. What should I do?" I asked it for advice, and that's something that any business leader can do. There's a friend of mine who runs a restaurant chain. Restaurant guy doesn't know anything about AI technology. Make sure he can swipe cards on his checkout machine, right? Or his credit card machine. That's his level of technological aptitude. But I asked him, I don't know anything about the restaurant business. Go ask your favorite AI how he should incorporate AI within his business. So that's number one. And that's not hard, right? You can just in plain words ask AI, how can I use AI in my business? And it'll give you surprisingly astute answers. The second is go take a course. Like there's all these wonderful free courses on Coursera or YouTube that take 5 to 10 hours to do. They can be done over a weekend. They don't require you to learn complex mathematics. And they tell you how to use these tools effectively. And that's something I myself have done. I've done like 2 or 3 courses in prompt engineering in plain English, don't require any sort of math background. And they've made me much, much more effective at understanding not only what these tools can do in my hands, but also what these tools can do in the hands of real experts and when it makes sense to bring on a real expert to manage my AI deployment.
That's really good. As we turn and think about your platform that you're creating, I would love to know a little bit more about it and how you've thought about incorporating AI into the bigger lens. Like, how did you decide where to focus it, and what to focus it on for better success?
Sure. So my launching of Content Hurricane comes out of an experience I had in my prior role where I was CEO of IdeaScale. IdeaScale is a global B2B SaaS company, and we built a marketing function from scratch while there. And one of the things we did really effectively was to build an amazing content marketing engine. So social media, blogs, videos. And not only did it perform really well, but we discovered kind of two things along the way. Number one was it was way better than paid advertising from a return on investment perspective. And number two, it persisted. So, right, when you make a social media post or pay for ads, if you're not doing that constantly, you kind of get lost, right? Google's or Facebook's not going to show your ad unless you pay them again and again. Whereas if you make one great video on YouTube or a couple of great blog entries, those will pay dividends for years and years to come and not only generate leads for you, but also create a brand aura for you. That's really important. It's persistent, it's evergreen.
Mhm.
And I wanted to bring that. We did that with a largely manual process, AI enabled, but mostly manual. And I said, okay, now with the AI technologies that exist, can we do this in an entirely automated way? So what
Mhm.
Content Hurricane does at its core is anybody in 90 seconds can now publish world-class blog content, expert level, so not generic AI BS, but actually expert level content on almost any imaginable subject, written in a way that is going to increase their inbound leads pretty significantly. And we emphasize two things. Number one, it's got to be great content that's going to be useful for your company, whether you're a tiny hardware store, or whether you're a billion-dollar CPG company. And number two, it needs to be simple where a senior executive or somebody straight out of high school can both use it without having to learn yet another software tool.
Mhm. Wow, that's really good. And so, it's interesting. I had a guy on our platform who talked a lot about the AI slop that's out there on the internet, just AI producing a bunch of stuff. But really, what you're saying here is that this is more focused, it's more laser like focused, and it's content that is actually meaningful and helpful to the organization. So there's some things underneath it that are really backing up, if you will, the content that's being produced.
Yeah, one of the things we did try to be very good at, from again, for ignoring the simplicity of the actual use of the software, but the guts or brain of the software that we built, we spent a lot of time and effort making sure that it's not, using your words, slop,
Mhm.
right? It's very easy to generate content where I take a photo and tell AI make a photo that looks like this or sounds like XYZ song. We really, I guess, trained is too strong a word. We really engineered our AI to be creative but also thoughtful, as fuzzy a word as thoughtful is. Use the word meaningful. Meaningful is ultimately in the eye of the beholder, so I can't promise that anything we do is meaningful from a deep kind of Buddhist sense, but I can confidently say that it is creative and it is thoughtful.
Mm, that's good. So I'm wondering, you talked about this a little bit earlier, but like, what's the size of organization that would find what you do helpful? Like, what have you found is kind of your niche?
So look, we are 2 months into this journey. We are 0 revenue right now, but lots of free trials signing up. So what I'm about to say is a little bit of guesswork, but I think that the right size of organization is organizations that are between $500,000 of revenue, probably to about $500 million of revenue.
Mhm.
Once you are a household name, you probably don't need not just us, but you probably don't need content marketing. You're just already a household name. But for anybody who's in between, whether that be a local hardware store or a new and emergent like soda brand that's got $100 million in revenues, but $100 million soda revenues is not actually that much in the grand scheme of things. I think those organizations that are not yet household names should be using something like us. Again, there's peers and competitors out there, but whether you use our software or peer, I think almost all organizations that are not hyperscale organizations should be using tools like ours nowadays.
Okay. And I love that answer because I do think that there's a ton of, I'll call it opportunity in the, that would be probably what I would call the middle market ish. And I think there's a ton of opportunity there where I'm seeing in the middle market, they sometimes don't have full fledged marketing teams. They may have, a couple people that run this or a marketing director, but they don't have a lot of those branches built out yet. So if if this idea, right, that you've launched, if it hits the way that you believe it will hit, what does that mean for the future of marketing departments truly? I mean, how do we begin to shape marketing departments when we have something like your tool that is really driving a lot of that content strategy?
Sure. So I think this is part of the evolution of marketing. I don't know if you ever watched Mad Men, but once upon a time, marketing was all about creative, coming up with great campaigns. And then as digital rolled out, it was all about deploying this, running heavy analytics. But it was still, there was a whole amount of effort dedicated within marketing departments to creativity, to creating beautiful pictures or images or campaigns or stories. I think in the age of AI, whether it be through tools like ours or peer tools, marketing departments, the notion of creating content, and that could be video, advertisements, copy. I think that will no longer need to be a core function of marketing departments. I think candidly that function shouldn't exist anymore within marketing departments, which means marketing departments really need to focus on two different skill sets than they have historically. One is much more heavy analytically. So you
Mhm.
can analyze what the AIs are doing and whether they're effective for your business. So more of an FP&A or marketing analytics function. So you kind of more math oriented folks. And number two, more architect, what I would call architects, people who are, while they are not producing any physical like PDFs or videos or images or music or stories, they are guiding the AI in a specific direction, saying, we would like to present our brand in this way, figure out how to do it. And that I gave a very abstract notion there, like, here's what I want to do, figure out how to do it. The cool thing is you can actually do that with AI now. And I think people who learn to frame things in terms of an objective and then give the AI full latitude on how to achieve that objective are going to be a lot more successful in future marketing departments.
Well, what I like about what you said, because it does sound a little bit scary to tell the AI, like, just go figure it out. What I like what you said to underpin that is, and we're going to measure it. I think the and we're going to measure it part makes it feel less terrifying to be like, oh, the AI is going to figure it out, right? You're measuring this as well. You're saying, hey, put those roles in that are actually going to measure the results and the effectiveness, which is going to be put up against the strategy that this AI is coming with. So I almost see kind of you called it like an architect or a strategist to kind of guide it, and then you have people that are going to measure it, and then you make adjustments just like you would with any other strategy that you see out there. So that sounds really fascinating. Do you think that people will be able to peel their hands off of the wheel in this way in order to kind of embrace this brave new world?
Well, you don't have a choice, right? It goes back. Let's roll back 100 years. You may have liked, driving your horse-driven buggy, and you may refuse to adopt a car, but guess what? The world moves past you. And I think whether you like it or not, the reality is these tools are extraordinarily powerful, and those who use these tools are going to be massively more productive and creative. And that means this technology, if you choose not to adopt it or take your hands off the wheel, you will, be quickly deprecated and you won't have a valuable skill set. Again, you don't get to choose to live in a world driving horse driving buggies when everyone else is driving cars. You can choose that, but there's consequences to that choice.
That's right. And I love the point you're making there and underlining. It's like you could do it, but you'll be left behind. You'll be lapped, right? So let's talk about this then. If someone's listening to this and they're running a marketing department or they're leading marketers and they're feeling a little overwhelmed by kind of the pace of AI innovation, what would be some advice that you would give them on how to begin to move forward? I mean, I like the idea of like, hey, ask chat what you should do, but you have a lot of incredible experience that I think chat doesn't have. So I'm gonna ask you, how would you approach it? And I mean, and maybe that's part of why you've launched this company, but taking a note from kind of your background and experience, what would you say are some things that people who are overwhelmed in that marketing function can begin to do?
Sure. So I'm overwhelmed too, and I live in this space. So my LinkedIn and my social media is inundated with every new tool you could imagine every single week, right? This new tool comes out or that new tool comes out. I follow all the forums like Product Hunt and see all the great launches live. I'd say a few things. Number one, being overwhelmed is a natural part of, working in a high intensity profession, whether you're an investment banker, whether you're a firefighter, people get overwhelmed when they're faced with circumstances that our lizard brains are not designed to do. And the only thing to do to deal with that is figure out how to emotionally self-regulate, whether that be
Mhm.
meditation, whether that be runs, whether that be watching, junk TV, whatever it is, do something to emotionally regulate yourself because that's an important part before you become of any work process before you become productive. You're not going to be as productive if you're overwhelmed or anxious as if you're calm and steady minded. The second is realize that there is a purpose to adopting these tools. Don't adopt them just for the sake of adopting them. Like I would love if people signed up for Content Hurricane, but I would ideally like they're doing so because they have a business rationale for doing so. And then third is go follow or sorry, set aside like a news feed or an RSS or something that helps you automatically track and prioritize the tools that are relevant to you. It could be a Google Trends or Google Alerts because there's lots of stuff coming out. 99%, and it's all of this stuff may be great, but 99% of the stuff is not going to be relevant to your marketing department or your research department or your finance department. So you don't need to be inundated with every single tool that is outside your scope or your domains of needs. Set up the alerts for things that matter to you and make sure only you're reviewing that stuff. But it actually doesn't require that much time if you filter down to the things that are highly likely to be relevant to you.
I like that. I think it's wise to organize the world around you. Don't just let yourself continue to get inundated, but actually create kind of the space that you want to live in. I really like that. What final thoughts would you have for our listeners today?
I'd say two things. One is general professional advice. I think a lot of folks underinvest in continuing education because once they've graduated college or grad school or gotten their PhD or high school or whatever, they're like, learning is done. And even before the age of AI, there's always new stuff happening in the world that it's important for professionals to, keep track of. If you're a doctor or a lawyer, you have to take continuing education courses. But in almost any other, a knowledge professional case, you don't have to. And I think a lot of people should go take a free course on YouTube or Coursera or, at your local college, or go complete a certification because these things not only keep your mind sharp, but they tell you about the new things that are happening in the workforce that are relevant for you to keep upskilling.
Mm.
The second piece of advice is specific to AI is the vast majority of people in the world in any profession, I think are still underutilizing these tools. They're using ChatGPT as a chatbot. It's a toy, but without realizing that these tools are incredibly powerful. As an example, I use ChatGPT to help me design a fitness schedule, help me buy anniversary gifts for my wife, and make business decisions that are worth, tens of millions of dollars, do financial analysis, negotiate against other human beings in very complex, business negotiations. And it's become not a chatbot, but a partner. And that's just ChatGPT or Gemini or some of the chatbot tools. And as we expand to kind of some of the other tools, I've entirely offloaded large pieces of work to them because I'm like, these tools can do it better than I can. And I'm okay with that.
Hmm. That's powerful. I think that we are in a new world, and it's wise to not just allow it to happen to us, but to actually be at the forefront of understanding AI, understanding what's going on, and then understanding how you can leverage it for the work that you do every day. So yeah, some very powerful thoughts there at the end of our time together. Like, how can people find and follow you?
Sure. So the best way is typically LinkedIn. I'm super active on it. My name is Nick Jain. It's at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to add me or message me on LinkedIn. I'm quite responsive there. And then our company website, by the way, is contenthurricane.com. Would love if people check that out. It's very, very cool. And it's totally no strings attached free trials available.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited for this journey. Can't wait to keep in touch with you and just learn more about how it's going.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me on your show, Natalie.
Absolutely. Well, to our listeners, thank you for joining the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Remember, don't just get out of the box, break the box and set it on fire. Let's go transform something.
Thank you for joining us for the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our show on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Innovation Meets Leadership, and visit our site at innovationmeetsleadership.com for more innovation resources.
Hey, my new book is out, Set It on Fire, The Art of Innovation. Click on the link to learn more. And don't just get out of the box, break the box and set it on fire. Let's go transform something.